Okay, welcome. Good morning and good afternoon from Fanshawe College in Canada. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the 2023 ProGlobe Virtual Conference. As you may know, the ProGlobe is an interdisciplinary and cross-cultural virtual exchange project between 4 higher education institutions around the world. So in this project, students in Canada, USA, Portugal, and Germany collaborate to understand global issues from different cultural perspectives. And in addition to our annual theme of sustainability this year, the students have also focused on inclusivity. During today's virtual conference, our students will be presenting their findings on the impacts and actions towards sustainability and inclusivity in their country and the world. And focus through the lens of their specific discipline of study. Also, we will be joined by our keynote speaker to provide further global insights on virtual mobility and education. And to provide our welcome address, I would like to introduce Professor Dr. João Vinhas. Professor João is the Vice President of the Polytechnic Institute of Viseu, with over 35 years experience in teaching and leadership in the field of education. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon. Good afternoon, esteemed audience, and welcome everyone from around the world attending the 9th virtual conference ProGlobe 2023 Impacts Around the Globe Collaborative Student Research. I am truly honored to welcome you all to this opening session, a conference by students and for students that is set to catalyze a global exchange of ideas on sustainable goals, practices, and cultural diversity. Today, we embark on a journey that transcends borders and brings together bright minds from 5 different countries, united by a common goal: to raise awareness about the profound impact of environmental and social issues on our planet. This year, this initiative is made possible through the efforts of 2 professors of the School of Technology and Management of Viseu, Polytechnic University of Viseu, Portugal, Professors Lourdes Martins and Paula Fonseca. Thank you. Their dedication and proactive attitude have been instrumental in bringing this project to life, bridging several continents and fostering a spirit of international cooperation. But our global conversation doesn't stop here. ProGlobe welcomes students and professors, not just from Portugal, but also from Germany, Canada, the United States, and we also have with us participants from China and possible from other countries. Welcome, everyone. This is a truly diverse and representative assembly of individuals who, through their commitment and shared vision, are here to make a significant impact on the world. ProGlobe is not just another digital initiative. It is a project that intends to foster meaningful communication among students who interact with professionals from diverse backgrounds. As an example, we have here today our keynote speaker, Ms. Patricia Araújo from Biosphere, Portugal. Welcome. So, this project can be considered a beacon of hope, dedicated to dispelling misconceptions and generalizations and fostering a deeper understanding of the world's most pressing challenges through collaboration and dialogue. The challenges we face today, be they environmental or social, are not confined by geographical boundaries. They are global in nature, and so must be our response. ProGlobe offers students a unique opportunity to work virtually in an international context, enabling the academic community to view these challenges from different cultural perspectives. As we stand on the threshold of an era where knowledge knows no borders, it's essential to recognize that the world's most innovative solutions often emerge at the intersection of diverse viewpoints. By connecting with peers from different corners of the globe, we are exposed to a wealth of fresh ideas, unique perspectives, and innovative solutions. This is the sense of ProGlobe. In this virtual conference, we will not just be passive participants, but active agents of change. You have evaluated, discussed, and reflected on the crucial issues of sustainable practices in a global context, and written a report that will be presented in the next few minutes. As a result, after each country's report, you will explore together how we can address the environmental challenges that threaten the well-being of our planet and its inhabitants. And we'll delve into the intricacies of social issues that require our collective attention and action. Your participation and dedication to this global conversation will help shape the solutions and strategies that will guide us towards a brighter, more sustainable future. Before we commence this exciting journey, I encourage you to open your hearts and minds, embrace the diversity of thought and cultures that we'll encounter, and channel your enthusiasm into constructive discussions and innovative proposals. So, let us embark on this journey together as we work to transform the world one idea at a time. Thank you for being part of ProGlobe, and I wish you all a truly enlightening and impactful experience this morning. Together, we can make a difference and drive positive change on a global scale. Together, we build the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Joao Vinhas, for that welcome address and that lovely sentiment and introduction to our ProGlobe conference. Now I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Patricia Araujo. Patricia is a specialist in sustainable development management and tourism and marketing management, and develops various tools and training interventions to support management and business strategies in the tourism sector, as well as programs for creating and structuring sustainable tourism products, implementing sustainable development plans in companies and tourist destinations, and certification of destinations and tour operators through the international brand Biosphere. Please welcome Patricia Araujo, the CEO of Biosphere Portugal.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, for depending on which place of the world you are listening to us. I just want to share my screen. Hope I can do it with, please let me know if you are already, yeah, it's working, okay. So first of all, I would like to thank the invitation, and in the persons of the organization of this global conference, and also in the vice president of the Polytechnic Institute of Viseu. I greet all of the presents. It's a pity that I can't see your faces, only these black images, so I don't think if it's, I don't know if it's something of the organization itself that doesn't allow the students to open their cameras. It would be much more empathetic, and also interesting to see everyone. But okay, let's work with what we have. It's an honor to be able to share this moment with everyone, and also to be able to take this opportunity to present the work that's being developed in Portugal in favor of sustainability. And also notice that Biosphere is also working in Canada, so we also have here a bridge of work in these fields. Starting with who we are, who is Biosphere. So we are a sustainability accelerator and a certification system for destinations and companies. So we design the sustainable programs for destinations and enterprises. Our standards were developed by the Institute of Responsible Tourism, that is an international organization. And our norms and standards that support the development of these sustainability plans for territories and companies was actually the first one to be recognized by GSTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and the first one responding to the 17 SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. How we do it, and just to summarize it, so we develop all the strategy, the sustainability strategy and plan, and help the territories and also the companies to materialize them, to put them in action. So what we really promote is a method, because more important than the certifications themselves, the most important for us is what the certification brings. A good certification has to be transparent, to set a pool of criteria, to bring together stakeholders, and most importantly, independent verification that standards are really met. So the certification process is a tool where we gather the economic field, the social field, the environmental field, and join them to the biosphere requirements. And in the way we say, we make transformation happening, so we make sustainability experiences happen. And when we confirm that the territories and the companies are already engaged in the system, we invite them to be certified by our standards. So the certification is a process, is a tool, helps creating a method to improve a long-term performance, but it's not the goal itself. Regarding our standards, so we use, as I said before, the international standards of biosphere destinations. This framework includes a set of criteria in all these three fields. And what we defend is a biosphere system, a system that aims to promote cohesion and inclusion, where the territory or the company works with these three ESG components, where governance, of course, is very important, is the field that allows the establishment of all the criteria that the organization will follow, that will manage the commitment inside the company, inside the organization, but also outside. And of course, it will determine the vision that all the stakeholders, employees, and all the community themselves will feel in the future or in the short term. Of course, that with all this, we need to ensure communication, because ensuring responsible communication throughout all the entire process, responsible communication will shape the narrative and will help manage risks and will engage more everyone. So this is how the work system, works, the framework works. We seek that an action of sustainability has a greater effect than the action itself. So all the actions can create a knock-on effect and pass on a better social and environmental practices, helping the organization and the company business performance and boosting also local economy. And when all this chain is working, it is necessary to communicate with responsibility, triggering circular and global sustainability. So this is what we do. What are the challenges that we are facing? And after all these 15 years of work, I think the challenges are bigger, and they are really difficult. But I think that in a community level, organizational level, everyone working together will be able to face them. So the first challenge is where we stand. We are in a Benny world, and this world tells us which are the needs. So being brittle and fragile, it requires capacity and resilience to rebuild, to learn. And being anxious, it needs empathy and attention. Being non-linear, it requires context and adaptability and careful short-term planning. Being incomprehensible, it requires transparency and intuition. So all this movement calls for making sustainability happen. And this, the major challenge here is that for the last years, everyone has been talking about sustainability. So everyone seems to be talking the talk. And what we want, what we need is to walk the walk and make things happen and create this movement for a big change. And this is linked to the other issue that I want to bring you, is that our organizational culture is not favorable to this change, because the road to a more sustainable sector and lifestyle is a journey that consists in many small steps where progress is made incrementally, and we don't have in our favor time. This scale that is always problematic, and that makes us every day very anxious. So sustainability, of course, is an endless journey. Changes in behavior need more time, and we, all of us, are anxious and have developed this culture that wants immediate results. So we need to be more calm and assure that we don't do things without thinking. And this links us to the other issue, the real issue that brought us here, that are the soft skills at the administration level, leaders and workers level. This is what needs to move. This is what we need to make matter more. So changing attitudes implies investing in people, in families, people since first years, and also implies investing more in schools, higher education, as we see here, but also in the other levels. Reskilling, upskilling everyone from school to the company. And what do we want to say with soft skills? So for the last years, there has been a movement talking about the inner development that can be described as the lifelong ongoing process of development of human cognitive, emotional, and interpersonal capacities, expressed within relationship and ultimately orienting us, all of us, towards service to the world. So we are all serving the world, understanding, of course, that this is a vast and complex domain and a very complex task. So let's just make a small journey trying to understand which of these fields, what should we really understand when we are exploring all these fields. So when we talk about the inner compass, we mean mainly to commit to values and purposes. And before I go further, I will invite you, all of you, to maybe close your eyes and just listen to me and try to understand what's the meaning of this message, and trying to link the message to what you are and what you think you need to develop more when you hear about all of these soft skills. So we start with the inner compass, the commitment to values and purposes. Integrity and authenticity, of course, it's very obvious. Being honest and sincere is always the best way to move. Openness and learning mindset is not being afraid to be and show vulnerability. So we need to understand that we are not Superman and Superwomen. And by that, we are open to grow and to learn when we show to others our weaknesses. Self-awareness, we understand who we are and our structure of feelings and desires. And once we understand this structure, we can control it. And finally, the presence, our presence, and avoid judgments. Don't judge, accept the difference, as the vice president before me also topic this point. So accept the difference is always better. Moving to another field, thinking, critical thinking, be able to understand all points of view and reflect about that. Complexity awareness, be aware we are in a complex and difficult context that is systemic, so everything will move everything. Perspective skills, we talk about being open to different insights and don't be blocked in bias mainly. Sense making, trying to bring sense to patterns and to uncertainty. And finally, long-term orientation and visioning, to be strong and committed to the right visions and values and do not give in too easy. Be strong. Regarding this field, relating, so the first one, appreciation, be grateful and appreciate others and everything the world gives us, the good, and also learn with the bad experiences. Connectedness, so what we mean with this is that community makes us stronger. So to use this force, we need to be to feel part of the whole and connect with others, not only digitally. Humility is not, so what we need to think here when we talk about humility is that it's not all about us, okay? It's not all about us, but also putting ourselves in other shoes. So trying to understand better others. And empathy and compassion, it's almost the same, but also being able to act always with kindness and empathy, trying to understand the other. And at the end of the day, you will see it always pays off. Moving to collaboration and communication skills, the most important nowadays is being able to really listen to others and mainly others that are different from us. Also, co-creation skills, being able to work with different people. Again, the more we gather, the stronger we will be. Inclusive mindsets and intercultural competence means, again, that all the diversity around us adds up. And so we have to be open to this difference. Trust. I know it's difficult times. It's been difficult to trust nowadays. But I think it's also always worth it to give a chance to trust. Mobilization skills, meaning that we need to inspire others, bring others to your changing journey, and join networks that have strong and shared causes. By the way, I was already inspired by what Vice President João Vinhas said, and it was very inspiring to hear them. And hearing him, I thought, oh, this makes all sense with what I'm going to say a few minutes after. Finally, we are in the fields of acting. First of all, the courage to move, courage to defend our values and never giving up, creativity, bringing original ideas, gather all the diversity, and dare to make different proposals. Optimism, of course, being positive and avoid navigating gray waters. Don't surf the wave that everything is wrong. You will be in gray waters by then. Every day, every minute, actually, brilliant and marvelous things happened. Might be little things, but things that at the end of the day will make all the difference. And finally, be persistent, be determined. If you know where you want to go with more or less barriers, you will be able to get there. So trust the process, trust your values, trust the people that join you, and preferably with a smile on your lips, and for sure you will get there. So I am at the end of my presentations, and no skills or capacities can be successfully developed in isolation. They all act in a circular way, and the more we improve one, the more the others can also be enhanced. So it's time to decide on a personal level, what am I going to do to talk the walk and then to walk the walk? And finally, here's the question: what am I going to do better today comparing to yesterday or this morning, if we are in Portugal or Europe? How will I be able to be in a better version of myself tomorrow? How can I inspire others? How can I inspire organizations where I'm going to work in the short term? Or the organizations I am today, schools, companies, how can I embrace this change? And I'm just finishing. I finish with a resume message, a style of music that I really don't appreciate. My husband likes it and hears this kind of music, metal music, all the time. So I need to be open and welcoming diversity and looking at all these different opportunities in a positive way and with resilience, much resilience. So at the end, I start listening to some of this music, and I gave the opportunity to myself to a new experience, and ended up understanding a message and believing in it. And the message is, when you can change yourself, you can change the world. So try to listen to the music, concentrate on the message if you don't like metal, but this is the message I would like to leave it to you today. So thank you. And I'm sorry if I was too fast, but there were a lot of things that I really would like to share with you today. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to switch this over as I speak here. Yes, so thank you, Patricia, for joining us today and sharing your valuable insight with us. That was really insightful, informative, and provided a very exciting perspective on what we can do going forward. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Just a couple of things I wanted to discuss before we start to introduce the first presenters. I'd like to provide a little bit more information for our attendees. First, I would like to invite all attendees to feel free to ask our presenters questions. And as you'll see in the conference schedule, I'm just actually going to share that real quick. USA, you'll be able to share in just a moment. I thought I'd just share the schedule. I know it's a lot to look at, but you'll notice that we're working in 4 different time zones today, and that we have sort of an organized set of presentations, as you can see. But you can use the Q&A panel discussion after each presentation. That will be a 10-minute opportunity to ask questions, and we offer you to use the Q&A, or in some languages, F&A function, to write your questions to the student presenters, and then they will have a chance to respond to you and your questions when they're finished their presentations in each of the sections. You can find the Q&A or F&A function at the controls at the bottom of the Zoom window. And so you'll be able to click on that and ask a question. Also, please note that each student in the project has had the opportunity to interview only one student from each of the other countries, and sometimes two. So while the students presenting, they understand that they're not representing the entire country as a whole, the students have been able to integrate more of a global perspective on sustainability and inclusivity based on the interviews and based on the experiences they had in these conversations with them. One last thing I want to say is that it's a great effort to put this together each year, and the country coordinators work with all of the students to do so. But one person that you will not see through this presentation is Brianna Moore, who is in the background managing this panelists and attendees the whole time, and we just want to make sure that she's recognized for that. As you see how smooth she is through this whole thing. You will notice that it might take a minute or two to transition from each session, and that's just because Brianna's working tirelessly in the background to make sure that those who need it at any given time in the conference have access to their cameras and so on. So at last, I would now like to begin the ProGlobe Virtual Conference student presentations by introducing our first presenters. Please welcome the students of the Bachelor of Science in Interior Design program from Middle Tennessee State University in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, USA.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon. We are Team USA, and first we are starting with the residential homes and effects on energy. So for this, for the first one, for heating and ventilation, air conditioning, it involves with thermostats and in a home, and for lighting, it involves with affecting lighting in every parts of the home, such as like running through energy with like light bulbs. And for solar energy, we use that for solar panels. For geothermal energy, we use that for renewable energy sources, and it helps people with bathing, heat buildings, and generating electricity. And for natural gases, it comes from water heating, clothing and drying, and cooking. And we have technology management systems like security cameras and TV and kitchen appliances, and irrigation systems, and also energy efficient sources, which is like LED lighting and solar panels. For this diagram, we have this U.S. primarily energy consumption by energy sources, and statistically we have petroleum, which is like about 36%, and it is the main sectors for that are transportation and industrial compared to residential and commercial, which is a less percentage. And for the second part, we have natural gases, which is like 33%, and we have coal, which is about 10%. And the lowest energy of that diagram is a nuclear electrical power, which is like 8% of the electrical system.
Okay, and then how we as a team internationally to maintain sustainable energy, from my interviews that I've had, I've learned that we could limit use of water, use energy efficient light bulb, or if possible, walk or bike to your destination, less the usage of electricity or just any other use of renewable energy. On to the next slide.
All right, hi, we're the USA team for waste.
So, what comes to mind when you think of waste? Do you think of plastic, food, recycling? There are so many things that create waste in your daily life that you wouldn't even think of. In our bottom photo, you can see a century of American garbage that ends up in landfills over time, and you can see that in the South we have a bigger problem with our waste management and seemingly produce more waste. In the top photo, you can see recycling programs offered in America. Specifically in the South, 70% of us have curbside recycling, 23% of us have drop-off only recycling, and 7% have no recycling programs available at all. On this slide, we have a few pie charts and graphs that break down all the materials that are going into landfills, from the building materials and packaging we use to the food we consume daily. The total municipal solid waste generated by those materials we use and consume, and the amount of waste we recycle, which, as we can see, is mainly paper. In my interviews, I found that in other countries, most people have separate recycling bins from regular garbage that gets picked up curbside, and that is the most available resource.
As interior designers, we wanted to take a look at how our industry contributes to waste production. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, 600 million tons of construction and demolition waste were generated in the United States alone in 2018. 445 million of these tons were reused, while 145 million were recycled. And according to the graphs on the right, majority of it, which is 67.5%, were of concrete origin. And the next slide, we wanted to look at how our industry found ways to combat waste production from the source. Standards such as well and cradle to cradle exist to ensure the health of people, products, and structures, as well as propose ways to cut back on waste at the source. In the top right, we see the well standard, and in the bottom middle, we see the cradle to cradle standard. We've been seeing an upwards trend in sustainability in design and construction. And from the beginning of the process, it ensures low waste throughout the product's lifetime if we're sustainable from the start. Thank you.
Hello, we are the United States Transportation Group. So typically the first thing that we think of regarding transportation is how necessary it is, but also how harmful it can be to the environment. And looking at this chart, we can see that the advantages and disadvantages of transportation are pretty much equal. And so some of the examples listed on this chart are social connectivity, economic growth, tourism, essential services, employment, and environmental factors, as well as just the transportation of goods and foods, as well as providing opportunities. And examples of disadvantages listed on this chart are safety, cost, congestion, air pollution, noise pollution, and land-related concerns such as habitat destruction, as well as greenhouse gas emissions. And this kind of poses the question that how can we maintain the advantages but lower the disadvantages at the same time? And this question is answered on our next slide.
This is where sustainable transportation comes to play. And so sustainable transportation is using things like public transportation, biking, walking, those kinds of things, rather than using private transportation like your own car. This graph shows the percentage of sustainable transportation per day, which with all of the groups that we worked with in the ProGlobe project. And all the students that we talk to, a lot of them rely on public transportation.
So, as interior design students, we want to be conscious of how our work affects the health and well being of people and the planet. In regards to transportation, we can help create more sustainable practices through advocating for the use of local materials and finishes to minimize the amount of transportation used in the design and construction process, as well as advocating and being a part of sustainable urban planning and adding simple aspects to design that encourage sustainable transportation, such as adding car charging ports, bike racks, etc.
Hello, we are Team USA for Inclusivity.
Design inclusivity is based on the principle that designing for the widest range of people creates better design and benefits everyone. An environment that is designed inclusively is not just related to buildings, it's also surrounding open spaces whenever people go out about everyday activities. Age, gender, sorry, is men. Okay, here are a few examples of inclusivity in design. Gender, men's restrooms that include diaper changing stations. Age, spaces that promote growth and interaction amongst children. Health condition is like height and weight. Countertop heights and circulations are appropriately sized and spaced. Culture, a quiet space that can be used for a prayer. On the next slide,
Interior designers affect the health and safety welfare of the public and private spaces. The public depends upon the skills and knowledge of qualified interior designers to create environmentally sound living and working spaces.
inclusivity, designer thinking. Challenge stereotypes, avoid assumptions, and beware of your privileges. In my interviews, I've learned that there is a museum for the blind, and anyone can go through the museum and experience what it's like to be blind.
Here are a few photos of ways that we can be inclusive in our design. On the first photo, it's Patel Bank Central Park. This is an urban renewal project that integrates several interactive and participatory spaces over an area of approximately 90,000 square meters. The wide, organically curved paths offer flexible movement for differently abled pedestrians. Several interactive zones ensure activity engagement for all age groups. The second photo is a friendship park. Every single element of the park is a part of the disability spectrum, both physical and mental, free of any obstacles. The layout of the space has been designed such that there are absolutely no sharp edges or corners, thus facilitating easy movements across the park. A variety of playful textures have also been added to the design for the blind. The park leaves no stone unturned. Each and every play equipment is absolutely inclusive to all. This third photo is the Casa Mac. This architect used texture stones, tiles, in continuity throughout to help users identify different spaces and to navigate throughout the house. To avoid any confusion, all rooms have been accommodated around a main spiral corridor, which terminates in the kitchen on one end and the bedrooms on the other. The linear layout of the house makes it easy for the user to identify the spaces and be able to get accustomed to it. Thank you.
Hello, we are the US water team. So water is a main resource among all of us around the world. In the US alone, our main resources for water are thermoelectricity, irrigation, and agriculture. However, humans alone though in the US use 80 to 100 gallons of water every day. So for this slide, we see what happens when we have too much water and when we have too little of water. Too much water can cause flooding, which results in contaminated water. For example, we have the devastation of the Rhine and also in our area of Waverly, Tennessee. And when we have too little of water, we have droughts, which cause lots of damage to our agriculture. So here we have Portugal, and we also have another area of the US, Arizona and Utah. Much of what I learned through my interviews was that water is such a big thing, and we don't feel like that we are doing enough in each of our countries to protect it and conserve it.
Drought risk is projected to continue across the globe, sapping our supplies of water, as shown by the red areas of the map. In my interviews, some have experienced infrequent and short-term water restrictions during extended dry spells. But generally, the consensus was a little concerned for lasting shortages, making us wonder if enough attention has been brought to climate change's effect on this basic life-giving resource. Critical to our drinking water is not only its prevalence, but also its cleanliness. Contaminated water can be a matter of life and death, and many around the world do not have the proper waste management systems in place to protect against industrial and agricultural contaminants and dangerously elevated levels of natural minerals from leaching into supplies. Even in developed areas, contaminated water can occur. Take, for instance, Flint, Michigan. Its population was inflicted with major health issues, including developmental damage in children from high lead levels only 9 years ago. Still, too much of the world's population do not even today have close access to drinking waters. Too far. This is meaning they must travel great distances, often by foot, to get to it. This is an expansive problem economically as well as from a health standpoint. Productivity and education hours are lost to time spent seeking water. Healthcare systems can also be easily overwhelmed with caring for the sick due to bad water. Impoverished areas are thus disproportionately affected by climate change related water threats.
Hello, I'm presenting Team USA Food. My name is Maris, and I want to introduce what all it takes to get your food to your table. Food relies on many renewable and non-renewable resources, but how do these resources impact the environment? These resources include, but are not limited to, water, petroleum, transportation, animals, and land. From our interviews, we learned that some countries have higher percentages of agricultural land dedicated to raising livestock than others. We also discussed how some countries rely more heavily on imports more than others due to the length of their growing seasons.
A big factor that comes into play when people are making choices about food is convenience. Fast food or frozen food is much quicker and easier to prepare or obtain, making it a desirable option for many. This map shows the number of fast food restaurants per capita throughout the US, with some areas even having one for every 1,000 people. Another factor is the perceived cost of foods, as 46% of Americans view unhealthy food as cheaper than healthy food. While this isn't necessarily true, this idea causes many low-income individuals to assume unhealthy food options are their only option. Additionally, 39.5 million Americans live in low-income and low-access areas. To maintain accessibility, however, the negative effects previously mentioned must continue as the use of resources is necessary to produce the amount of food required for proper accessibility.
So when a lot of people hear this information, they feel very discouraged. I know in my interviews, a lot of people knew what they were doing wrong, but didn't really know what to do about it. So we've come up with a list of solutions that you can do in your everyday life that could really help reduce your footprint in this area. So number one is to grow your own food when you can, whether that's a neighborhood garden, a small garden in your backyard, or even just herbs in the windowsill. Every little thing counts. And then after that, make sure that you're supporting your local vendors first. So go to the farmer's market before you go to the grocery store. This often helps to reduce transportation and packaging issues. And on the topic of packaging issues, when you do have to go to the grocery store, whenever you're making your purchases, either purchase items with less packaging or make sure that the packaging that is being used is compostable or recyclable. Another big problem in this industry is eating meat. The more we eat, the more harmful it is to the environment. So eat less when it's possible for you. And then finally, I think the biggest problem that I found in my interviews was people were saying at the end of the week they're having to throw away so much food. And while proper planning can help to prevent some of that, it's not always possible. So a great solution to this is composting, whether that's countertop composting or a rig in your backyard. Every little bit helps. So yeah, that's the end of the USA interviews. Thank you.
Okay, we thank you.
Thank you to the students of Middle Tennessee State University for your presentations. We welcome questions at this time for the Q&A session for the U.S. students.
Okay, are there any questions?
I wonder if we could ask you to stop sharing your screen, and then we can maybe see the grid of all any students who are with their cameras on.
Okay, how?
Okay, so we do have a question. Is the water in Flint, Michigan now safe to drink?
Anybody want to respond to that? We're on. Okay, coming up.
Yes, I believe it is. It went about 5 years, somewhat undetected, with people symptomatic, to determine that it was a problem with the water. And unfortunately, it was a little bit of a government, some kind of cover up is what ended up happening. They knew the levels were beyond what they should have been. So that was a very unfortunate set of circumstances. And unfortunately, I do believe they're still kind of processing some of those legalities fall out from that. But yes, the water is currently safe at safe levels. Thanks for the question.
Any other questions?
I just want to mention that we did have a request for us to speak a little bit slower. There's some attendees with English as the second language, and maybe we could make it a little bit easier to understand by slowing down a little bit. I know we're nervous. That's okay.
Other questions? And can they open their screens? Some of them said they can't turn on their screens.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this question. How do you think we can encourage and educate our citizens to compost?
Okay. We have an answer?
So the thing about composting is that it's pretty easy. It's just that not a lot of people do it because not a lot of people already have the equipment. So I think by letting people know that it's a really easy way to either get more fertilizer for your garden, or just letting people know that it's a really easy way to get rid of food without throwing it in the trash and letting it rot. I guess just like talking about it more could really be the best way to, I don't know, spread the word. I know that sounds really simple, but it is so easy. So like getting the equipment to do it is not the hard part. Just knowing about it is what easy. So I think if you know about it, doing it and telling people about it, that's really the best way that you can kind of get the word out on that, because it really is easy. So
other questions?
Yeah, we have one more question in the chat. What did you think when you saw all these problems?
Okay. Class, what did you think when you saw all these problems? Like what problems? Which ones? Because there were so many.
Yeah.
Anybody want to respond?
We can get more specific. Here's one. When it comes to design, you mentioned the challenges found when, for example, designing public restrooms so that they are inclusive. Do you know of any other examples?
Okay, which one of you want to respond to that? Are you talking about gender neutral, or are you talking about specific things like equipment? Is what they want to know.
Just any examples. I believe they're just looking at examples of maybe where it's been put into place, or something that you could share with the attendees.
Well, other than
They're coming.
Other than what we had spoken about with having, like diaper changing stations in every restroom, there are also things such as, obviously creating ADA, making sure that there's enough space to get through, that there is a handicap stall that swings outward, not inward, so that they're able to get in. Using what are those things called? Just forgot. The handrails, using handrails placements, and there are specific codes for how high they need to be, how long they need to be for specific areas of the restroom. So those are a few. Also lower countertops, making it easier for people, it's easily accessible to wash their hands, to get paper or soap. Those are just a few ways to be inclusive.
Anybody else? Okay. Any other?
We don't have any. I know the Canadian students are putting together questions themselves, so maybe we'll get something if we just wait a minute here.
Okay.
Oh, we do have another question. In Germany, there are apps to help reduce food waste. So if a restaurant or store has too much food, they can post that on the app and people can then buy it for a reduced price. Is there any app like this in the US?
Okay. Okay, they're coming here.
We do have that here in the United States. I know larger cities like like New York City, like larger cities like Los Angeles. I do know they also have services like that as well. It kind of cuts down on food waste, and stuff like that. So we do have that resource and service here as well. Yeah, it's not everywhere, in like smaller rural areas. We're in a little bit more of a rural area outside of Nashville, Tennessee. So where we are located, we do not have that service provided. But it is available within our country.
Thank you.
Okay, any others? Are we good?
I think so. I don't see any other questions that are being asked for the US group.
I heard comments like small plates, the actual portion sizes, things on the menu. I mean, I was hearing it from across the room. But those are other things we have that are not necessarily apps. They're actually on the menu at the restaurants or the QR code.
Okay.
A few people mentioned the QR codes when
Okay.
you're pulling up the menu.
No worries. Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that,
Okay, thank you.
that information. No, that's wonderful. So thank you to the students of the Middle Tennessee State University for your wonderful presentations and your interesting perspectives on that, specific to interior design in that case. Now I would like to welcome the Bachelor of Interior Design students from Fanshawe College in London, Ontario, Canada. Thank you for your patience as we move all Canadian students to So as we are moving this, just keep in mind that each of the students, when you're promoted to panelist, must accept that and move into the main panelist area, even if you're not presenting. Okay. Thank you. You can begin.
I'm just waiting. I'm not sure if Lauren has joined yet, so I'm just waiting to see. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, sorry. When I went to join as a panelist, it kicked me out of Zoom completely, so I had to rejoin.
Okay, so hi everyone. Lauren and I are the transportation team for Canada.
Yes, hello.
We can switch the slide. Okay, perfect. So before we go into our interview findings, we wanted to share a few statistics as to why transportation has a big impact on the environment. So transportation plays a pivotal role in our day-to-day lives through connection, connecting us as a community and facilitating our daily activity. But it's also responsible for imports and exports of goods, amongst many other things. So according to the Government of Canada website, in 2022, there was a total of 26.3 million registered vehicles in Canada alone. In 2023, in Canada, there was a reported of a total of 7.7 million total passengers. And then in 2023, there was a total of 30.6 million metric tons of goods transported by rail. So I think it's fair to say that transportation plays a big role in our day-to-day lives. We can switch to the next slide.
Excuse me, bear with me. I've got a little bit of a cold. But during our research during this ProGlobe excuse me, interviews that we had, Chanel and I discovered that transportation methods are viewed quite differently in countries around the globe. Within the United States, personal modes of transportation were the most frequently used, with walking and biking falling as the second, and air travel as a third mode option of transportation, where public transit and rail travel were the least common for Americans as a form of transportation from point A to point B. We also learned that because the United States is so large, options for traveling from opposite sides of the country were difficult to do by public transit, like buses, obviously. So a lot of options for air were chosen. Canada also followed a very similar example as the United States, with these personal modes of transportation being the most frequent, and walking and biking and public transit being a close second option. And air and rail travel in Canada were the least common. Again, Canada, we have a very large country, so it is very hard to get from opposite ends of the country without using those air or rail travel options. Where in contrast, Germany and Portugal favor public transit as the most commonly used form of transportation, and walking and biking following a close second. Where Germany and Portugal differ is the use frequency of rail, air, and public transportation. Portugal tends to favor more personal modes of transportation than their German counterparts, but with similar preferences in air travel. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Chanel and I learned that although all the countries participating in ProGlobe this year favor different modes of transportation, almost all methods contribute negatively to our environment. And though the greenhouse gas emissions contributing to our carbon footprint and burning of fossil fuels, rail, air, public, and personal forms of transportation all impact our world at a different rate. So personal transportation through the use of personal vehicles contributes the most to our ecological footprint here on Earth. And we would suggest, to improve this statistic, that would be to carpool when possible, and specifically with others headed to the same location as you, such as students at the same institution or program as you, co-workers and other classmates, or opting to use public transportation over using your own vehicle. Next slide, please. Oh, Chanel, your thing's
Sorry,
on.
I forgot to unmute myself. So now that we know a little bit more about the effects of transportation on the environment, we wanted to showcase how we're going to apply this into our next project, the dental clinic design. So with our project, we will be conscious about the material source and try to source them locally. And we will try and reduce the amount. So that will reduce the amount of transportation of goods. In the case that we wouldn't be able to source them locally, we would try and consolidate the deliveries to, again, minimize the amount of transportation. And then lastly, in the design process, we will try and promote the use of alternative transportation, such as bikes and scooters and skateboards, by providing a dedicated space to store those items in the design. Next slide. Just because we're conscious of time, I'll just finish off saying that transportation plays a pivotal role on the environment, and small decisions that we make every day, such as biking to work, can make a very big impact on the environment. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Sorry, Wendy, we're just waiting for our last member.
Hi, is she here? Do you guys see me?
Yes.
So Struggle is here?
Yeah.
Hello. So me and my team, we are the Team Water. And we will talk about the water and many sides and how it plays a important role in our life. Next slide, please. So after researching about the water, so we found that for sure water plays an important role in our life. For example, in the human health, we have to drink a good amount of water during the day to feel good. Also, we use water in cleaning and waste removal, for example, and cleaning our house and cleaning the human waste. Also, in the environmental balance and medical use, the medical use for sure it's very important in the agriculture, for example, in the farms, in industrial and commercial uses, for example, in the companies and factories. Next slide, please.
So what is the problem with tap water? So tap water is abstracted from the soil, otherwise called aquifers. It circulates until the ground gets filled up for humans to be able to extract it with a water pump. The process of extracting the water requires the use of heavy machinery, which pollutes the water and transfer chemicals to the water that is supposed to be clean for us to drink. So when water gets extracted and chemically treated, it gets transformed to the water. It gets transferred to the water pipes, each city has. Now, what is the problem with the water pipes? Most underground water pipes are old, built from hundreds of years ago. Therefore, the water is contaminated with dirt, metals, and chemicals. Most tap water is used for household activities such as cleaning, cooking, and drinking. Now, as for this graph we have in the center, we did a study from SDU, just as well as considering our interviews with different countries, like the US, Portugal, and Germany. We did a study on the ratio of sickness to death from consuming tap water. And we found that about 400,000 Americans were found sick from consuming tap water, whereas no data was found for Portugal and Germany, as their water is completely clean and they try to use different methods to make sure that the water is safe to drink for their citizens. So water is an essential natural resource all humans need to survive. The issue is how humans overconsume water, abstract water, and the amount of contamination it has to go through before and after humans are able to consume it. So based on several interviews with Portugal, Germany, and the United States, all countries agree with water being overly treated with chemicals and overused. Next slide, please.
From the interviews conducted, we asked each interviewee how much they use water, and we all concluded that we use water in our day-to-day lives in different aspects. From the first graph, we see that drinking it's the most used because we need water to survive, so it's 53%. Then for showering, it's 18%. For brushing our teeth is 12%. For cooking is 13%, and for other uses is 4%. Now, when using water, we also waste water. So in Canada, we use 329 liters of water per day and per person, and that water is also wasted. And in the other picture, you can see the residential indoor waste water waste used in Canada. In bathing and showering is 35%, in laundry is 20%, in kitchen and drinking is 10%, and cleaning 5%, and toilet 30%. Next slide. And these are some ways we can store water in a smart way. We have the right way and the wrong way. For the right way, it has the container used to store water has to have a lid. So to stop cross-contamination with the air and other things. Then for the wrong way, it's when the containers used to store water are open. As you can see, for the wrong way, we have open barrels, open buckets, open bowls, and open tanks. These cause, having containers open can cause cross-contamination and can cause several waterborne diseases like cholera, diarrhea, typhoid, and many more diseases. Then for the right way, we have water barrels. They're one of the most used ways of storing water. They store a large amount of water and they are cost effective, and it is made from food grade plastic, which is safe. For water drums, it's a smaller way of storing water. It is safe, it is portable, and it is made from also food grade plastic. And cisterns or water tanks are the biggest forms of storing water. They store much more water than the others, and it is also made from food grade plastic. Then for the water bulb storage is for people that have limited spaces in their houses. It is contamination free, and it uses a plastic bag and stores water inside and has a lid, a knob, which doesn't let any cross contamination happen with the water. Next slide.
So how can we help save water in our households? So basically timing showers, using low flush systems for toilets, taking care of the pipes to decrease the amount of leaks per year, shutting off tap water while doing household activities, eating foods that do not need tons of water to be harvested, recycling water and giving it another purpose, reducing the amount of laundry visits per week and loads can decrease the amount of water used as well. And then storing rainwater and using it for daily activities can also reduce the amount of water we use. Next slide, please.
So as our next project is designing dental clinic, we thought that we could talk about it, as it's very important in designing dental clinic that we think about how to put water in our consideration. So water is very important in dental clinic, for example, in rinsing and cleaning, dental unit water line, and instrument sterilization, and dental imaging, also for the tap water and for toilet, for the toilet. For the type of wastewater in dental clinic, after researching, we found that gray water is have very big amount in dental clinic, which is that comes from sink, shower, and non-toilet fixtures. And the black water is from the human waste. And for example, and for sure that water is not recyclable in dental clinics because it's not healthy for the humans. Next slide, please. And in conclusion, we found that water is very important in our life and we have to put it in our considerations. Thank you.
So Carly and I are Team Energy for Canada. So next slide, please. So the previous team already gave you some insight into energy. So the main thing to take away is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. And instead of going through all the same information once again, we just wanted to give you some interesting facts about energy. So did you know a single wind turbine can power over 1,400 homes? 60 minutes of solar energy could power the Earth for a year. And a single lightning bolt unleashes 5 times more heat than the sun. Next slide, please. In our interview results, when we asked the different countries what sustainability meant to them, we had a recurring answer of sustainability is using resources in a way to preserve them for future generations, as long as we use them wisely with long-term in mind. And then I also wanted to give a little chart here about how energy is created in each country. We found some common energies in each country, and then I'm just going to list the ones that are used. Germany uses fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and petroleum. Portugal uses bi-natural gas, petroleum, and solar energy. The US uses fossil fuels, oil, gas, natural gases, nuclear energy, solar, and hydropower. And Canada uses hydro, nuclear, oil, and gas, coal, and renewable resources. In our diagram, you can see what we all have in common and what we all do differently. Next slide.
So, sorry. As we are interior design students, during our interviews, we learned that most people think that they cannot cut back on their energy usage, which is a little bit sad, but at the same time, understandable. So that kind of falls back into our job to help right from the beginning. So some of the energy efficient features that we're going to be thinking about moving on into our career are going to be lighting and windows. So using energy efficient lighting fixtures and then windows to use natural light to any ability we can. And then moving on is curtains, blinds, and doors to kind of block out any unwanted sunlight, heat, cold, whatever you don't want in your home or building. And then likewise is appliances and proper insulation. So using appliances that are energy efficient or energy saving where possible is definitely something we're going to think about. And proper insulation will just help to continue keeping any negative weather out. So if you're trying to keep your house nice and warm when it's cold outside, you'd want proper insulation. So you're keeping your heat inside and the cold is outside. Next slide, please. Continuing on, as you heard, our next project is a dental office. So with some of our new knowledge about energy, we plan on implementing some of these key features into our design, being energy saving or energy efficient technology, as there is a lot of tech that goes into a dental office. We plan on using natural light to our advantage where possible. So whatever windows we have, we plan to use all of them. And then based on our location, we would really like to be able to produce our own energy using solar panels, hydro, wind, whatever may be possible. That way we can create the building has its own energy usage and we can kind of conserve that in our own way. And then just overall, we'd like to create a comfortable and sustainable environment using colors and our new elements we've learned in relation to energy saving, continuing into our design. And with that, it was very interesting learning all these new topics about energy, but that is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Hi, so myself, Emily, and Jocelyn are going to be presenting food for Team Canada. Next slide, please. So food and food waste is actually one of the biggest sources of waste on a global scale. 1.3 billion tons of food suitable for human consumption and roughly 1.6 billion tons of so-called primary product equivalents are lost or wasted on an annual basis. So food and the waste that comes from it is not only a sustainability issue, but we can look at food in itself as a social global issue as we face issues like food disparity and food inequities worldwide. Next slide, please. So food waste and its harmful impacts on the environment actually come from a number of different methods and practices throughout the manufacturing or preparation process. Some of the ones that we identified through our research were transportation, so bringing food from the processing stage to the shelves in the store. Production, obviously making the food in factories, as well as any kind of factory farming processes. The packaging from food, which sadly is hard to avoid, but any kind of boxes or containers, and this is consisting mainly of single-use plastics. And then finally, waste from humans. So this is any kind of scraps or what we discard at the end of the day, food that we don't eat, and that ends up in the garbage bin. Next slide, please. So to further our research, something that we did was actually look at how much waste is generated per country on an annual basis. These are rough estimates, as well as comparing that to the population of the country. So we looked at Canada, Germany, Portugal, and the USA and how much waste they produce. So Canada, we produce roughly 50 million tons of garbage per year, Germany 11 million, Portugal 2 million, and the USA 60 million. Next slide, please.
Something that is often not maybe considered when it comes to food use in relation to sustainability is how much space it takes to produce these foods. So just a quick overview. So some of the main things like meat, whether it's beef, chicken, or pig, takes up quite a lot of space. And just for an approximation here, 1 acre is about equal to 4,046 square meters. So meat and dairy products are the ones that require the most land use, and vegetables and fruit require much less land use and benefit the land more sustainably. Next slide. So this is like human sustainability is just as important as the sustainability of the land and earth. A balanced meal is obviously important because too much meat or animal products is not good for the human body, as it's also not good for land as it takes up a lot of space. And it's okay to still eat these meat and dairy products, but making sure they're balanced out with other things such as grains, fruits, and vegetables not only benefits the human body and health and well-being, but the earth as well. Next slide.
In interior design, it's really important that all aspects of health are considered. Buildings can earn different certifications, such as WELL, that shows that it was designed with sustainability and user well-being in mind. There are 10 categories, but we're going to focus on nourishment. So all buildings are required to have a minimum of 2 nourishment points. Next slide, please. So in a dental clinic application, some strategies that can be implemented to achieve nourishment points is by offering healthy snack options for staff on a daily basis, or a cafeteria or a break room that offers healthy lunch options, or even like catering for meetings or like courses so that the staff get healthy food options while they're at work. Next slide, please. So just to conclude, it's super important to consider integrating food in interior design. Research shows that WELL buildings have been proven to improve mood and productivity in workplaces. WELL certifications help designers to achieve this by not only enhancing the well-being of staff in dental clinics, but also helps to connect them with their work environment. This shows a thoughtful approach to nourishment through design and overall contributing to a more holistic and healthy work environment.
We are the Canada Waste team. Next slide, please. So the most common types of waste in different countries discussed include packaging, plastic, and electronic waste. Packaging is the main category of physical waste, primarily from household products and delivery packaging. Plastic is a significant portion of waste being created by humans, but regulations are being implemented to reduce its amount. In different countries, these waste types are separated in different landfills for proper disposal. Recycling centers are in place to drop off electronic waste to minimize its impact on human health and well-being. Industrial waste, mostly produced by large companies, is also a significant issue, with some being dumped into other countries. Next slide, please.
The discussion of waste among students revealed common environmental effects such as pollution, climate change, and deforestation. Poor waste management destroys ecosystems, releases pollutants, and threatens human health. The main types of pollution include air and ocean pollution, which lowers our air quality and harms marine life. Waste contributes to climate change by increasing greenhouse gas emissions, while deforestation leads to habitat loss and carbon emissions. Waste accumulation increases the risk of infections, respiratory issues, and illnesses. The unappealing waste presence in communities can lead to anxiety, stress, and decreased well-being of humans. Next slide.
So waste management solutions can be achieved through education, awareness of resource usage, and community efforts. Schools and communities can promote waste solutions like composting, recycling, and green programs. Proper composting reduces reliance on chemical fertilizers, improves soil fertility, and enhances water retention. Additionally, creating disposal centers for electronics and harmful materials can limit hazardous stock in the environment. Making small daily decisions can significantly impact the environment and future generations' lives, ensuring a healthy environment for all. By making these small choices, we can contribute to a more sustainable future. Go to the next slide. So waste can have various impacts on interior design, and sustainable design practices are becoming increasingly important in the field. The production of materials used in interior design often involves the extraction of natural resources. The manufacturing and transportation of materials contribute to energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. Reducing waste in the design process can help minimize these environmental impacts. The disposal of interior design related waste, such as old furniture and fixtures, contributes to landfill problems. Selecting durable materials also ensures a longer lifespan for interior elements, reducing the frequency of replacements. So raising awareness among clients, designers, and manufacturers about the environmental impact of interior design choices can lead to more sustainable practices and conscious decision making. Next slide, please.
Reduce the environmental impact when designing a dental clinic. It's important to choose materials with lower environmental impact, such as recycled or renewable resources. In addition, choosing durable finishes and furnishings to minimize frequent replacements, and incorporating energy-efficient systems like LED lighting and Energy Star appliances within the clinic.
Designing spaces with modular layouts that can adapt to changing needs, minimizing renovations and construction waste. Implement design records and paperless practices to reduce physical storage and paper waste. Choosing suppliers that prioritize sustainability within their manufacturing processes. Implementing flexible design and promoting digital records can also contribute to a more sustainable and eco-friendly environment.
So we are Team Inclusivity. Our team members are Georgia, myself, and Grace Waxman. Next slide, please. So a general understanding of what inclusivity meant to the students that we interviewed. It was generally well understood by each country. Some general understandings were equal access to opportunities, acceptance of everyone, free expression of identity, and providing safety for everyone. As interior design students, we looked at inclusivity within buildings and how the built world can support everyone. Next slide, please.
So each wheelchair icon shows how many accessible features each country has in general based off of the interview questions we asked. So accessible features can be defined as ramps, handrails, elevators, and wheelchair accessible washrooms. So the logos just show that Canada and the US have the highest amount of accessible features in general, and Portugal and Germany have a lower amount of accessible features. Next slide, please.
Inclusivity of wayfinding. So wayfinding is the use of signage, colors, and other design elements to help individuals navigate a space. And these are a few examples of universal symbols and signs that are commonly used throughout spaces to help identify and communicate important directions or specific indications of spaces and their uses. Next slide, please. Here are some common languages that are used for wayfinding signs found within each of the countries. So Canada, the most common language is English and French. In the US, commonly seen is English and Spanish. Next slide, please. And then Portugal, most common is Portuguese, and then with French, English, and German seen a little bit. And then for Germany, you have German, English, and then there's also, through our interviews, we are told that there's also a large range of multiple other languages. Next slide, please.
So for gender inclusivity within each country, this is kind of what the students were called for in their public spaces. So in Canada, we know that there is male, female, there's family bathrooms, accessible bathrooms, and gender neutral washrooms provided. And then in Germany, there was male, female, and accessible. In Portugal, there was male, female, family, and accessible options. And then in the US, there was male, female, family, accessible washrooms, and then some gender neutral washrooms as well. Next slide, please.
So talking about proxemics, so the definition of proxemic zones determine how far away or close people like to be with each other. Intimate being the closest people can be to each other, and public is the furthest. So all four countries prefer to be in the personal zone, yet Germany and Portugal are the most comfortable with being close to each other. So personal is the second closest you could be in the proxemic zone. Next slide, please. All right, so now we will be discussing some of the important rooms that all four countries said. So the first one is a prayer room. The second one is a family washroom. Next slide, please. The fourth one is a mother room where mothers can go to breastfeed or have personal space. Third is historical references. And the fifth there is hostels, which is most common in Germany.
And there was a variety of all of these different rooms across all 4 countries. Next slide, please.
So based on our discussions with students, inclusivity of accessibility, race, culture, and gender has become more and more accepted over the years and throughout the generations. It was brought to our attention that in most circumstances, someone within the traditionalist or baby boomers demographics, they are less likely to support new ideas and movements. And from this, it is predicted that the newest generations will be the most progressive in inclusivity, and future generations will continue to improve upon it within society. Next slide, please.
So I'll quickly just go over some inclusive things that we can implement within a dental clinic. So on this page, it just highlights some accessibility things that you can include, like a double height desk, providing an accessible or all gender washroom, providing turn spaces and push buttons. If you go to the next slide, please. In this one here, it's the spatial arrangement. So considering proxemics and comfort zones for each religion within a waiting space, and then also using flooring materials to better help wayfind without using languages or symbols that might not be universally known. Next slide, please. And then this is the last slide, just providing privacy, because there is some cultures that privacy considerations are higher than others, as well as more signage that doesn't include necessarily words, but instead using numbers instead. Next slide, please. So just from Canada, we just want to say thank you for listening to all of our presentations and our findings. We hope that this information was informative and interesting. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we are open for discussion now.
Okay, thank you. In the interest of time, we actually don't have time to respond to questions, but I do see some in the chat, and we will take note of those questions, and the Canadians can respond to those via email later after the ProGlobe Conference. So at this time, I wanted to thank the Canadian students for their presentations. And we would like to pay a special tribute to a dear friend and colleague, Dr. Joseph Owino from the University of Nairobi, who suddenly passed away this week. As he was a founding member of the consortium Virtual Exchange, we wanted to share a moment to say goodbye. Dr. Owino was a remarkable individual who dedicated his life to the pursuit of knowledge and global collaboration. This distinguished scholar not only left an indelible mark on our universities, but also formed connections across the world through his expertise in virtual collaboration, pedagogy, and exchange. He was one of the pioneers in virtual mobility in Africa, who will dearly be missed by his international partners and friends. In honor of his memory, we invite you all to join our family of virtual exchange professionals in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now take a little break, and in an effort to promote health and wellness, we would like you to be encouraged to stretch and move. We will return in about 8 minutes, so that would be 9:50 a.m. in Germany, 9:50 a.m. in USA, I'm sorry, 10:50 a.m. in Canada, 3:50 p.m. in Portugal, and 4:50 p.m. in Germany. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to the ProGlobe student presentations. I know that was sort of a smaller break. Hopefully everybody was able to take a moment. I would now like to welcome the students from the Bachelor of Management Sciences in Business from Bonn-Rhein-Sieg University of Applied Sciences in St. Augustine, Germany.
I believe you can start.
Good afternoon and good morning. My name is Sarah Lüdenbach, and I'm here today with Louis Novak, Raoul Mulken-Miklos, Lily Kons, and Martin Kochev, and we are presenting to you from Germany. I'm here to talk to you about inclusivity across our countries. Next slide, please. Thank you. Inclusivity means equal chances for everybody, regardless of their gender, race, sexuality, or disability. But how can this be achieved, and what steps have been taken thus far to ensure an inclusive environment across the world? Let's take a look at the main issues inclusivity faces and how our countries are dealing with them. Starting with diversity and multiculturalism. A leading example of how to deal with immigrants is brought on by Canada. Canada is highly committed to multiculturalism and inclusivity and is known for being inclusive and welcoming to immigrants from around the world. Both Germany and Portugal have made great efforts to promote, include, and integrate diverse groups, but there are still challenges remaining. The USA is a very diverse country with a long history of immigration. However, it also faces obstacles regarding racial and social inequalities. When it comes to healthcare, all but one of our countries offers free universal healthcare, although Portugal is faced with some economic challenges that can influence its accessibility. Both Canada and Germany offer various social welfare programs, just as such as unemployment benefits. The USA continues its effort to improve inclusivity in both sectors. Next slide, please. Now, what is being done about language barriers? When an immigrant comes to Germany and does not speak the German language, they will get the opportunity to partake in German language programs that aim to further immigrants' integration. Germany, Canada, and the USA all offer help to non-native speakers by providing information, for example, signs or announcement in public spaces, such as train stations in at least 2 languages. German and English in Germany, English and French in Canada, and English and Spanish in the USA. Portugal has to put in a little more effort into language inclusiveness, as it can be a challenge for non-Portuguese speakers to communicate there. Lastly, all 4 countries have made significant progress when it comes to LGBTQ+ rights, for example, by legalizing same-sex marriage. Next slide, please. Thank you. But it's also important to remember that inclusivity is an ongoing process and each nation faces unique challenges and opportunities. Let's not forget that inclusivity doesn't start with the country that we live in, but with every single one of us. Each one of us can work towards a more inclusive world, one step at a time, simply by staying open-minded. Thank you for your attention. Louis Novak will now tell you about energy.
Yes, dear ladies and gentlemen, a big welcome from me as well. My name is Louis Novak, and I will briefly talk about the topic energy. Furthermore, I'm going to tell you something about the renewable energy sources and the personal experiences on energy consumption. So as already mentioned before, the 2 most important forms are the wind and solar energy, and I will explain you briefly how these sources work. So on the one hand, in case of solar energy, silicon or another material is used to make solar panels, and which are then mounted in a metal panel frame and covered in glass. This generates an electric charge when it's exposed to the sunshine. On the other hand, wind energy, blades are used in the inside of wind turbines to capture the kinetic energy of wind, and the lift produced by the wind flowing over the blades causes them to rotate. So in the following, energy is created by this process. Solar and wind energy are both environmentally friendly and becoming more affordable as well as efficient. Some statistics underlines the importance of these two sources from Germany. Germany almost uses 50% of the energy out of renewable energy. The exact amount comprises 49%. Solar energy represents approximately 8.8%, and wind energy almost covers 21% of the renewable energy in Germany. In relation to other energy sources like fossil energy, solar and wind energy reduce greenhouse gas emissions and significantly the air pollution. In recent times, during the COVID pandemic, for example, energy consumption in Germany has risen by a full 2.6% between 2022 and 2021. This really emphasizes the urgency of renewable energy. The following slide shows the personal experiences on our energy consumption. So in this project, we took a 7 days personal log about our own energy consumption. We wrote down any energy sources we have used in this time. So in my team, we have interviewed in total, example, 12 different people from Canada, USA, and Portugal. And from the interviews, we recognized really how dependent we actually are from the energy sources, and especially in using energy. The students who were part of these interviews especially have noticed that the energy consumption increases as soon as we get older due to changes in our living standards, for example. An example for this is, since you have left your family house or live for yourself in an apartment or whatever, you are producing much more energy than living with other people together. As an idea to reduce our energy consumption, our students came to 3 solutions. The first one was unplugging devices to reduce standby power consumption, especially overnight for loading phone or other devices. It would really reduce the energy consumption. Another example is to try use cold water for laundry. And the last one was to take more advantage of the natural light. In conclusion, we students came to the point that we all have an impact on our environment and that we all could do something to change our overconsumption, because now is the best time for doing this. Thank you very much for your attention, and we will move on to the next topic, water, which is covered by Raul.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Raul Yosef Miklos, and today I'll present the water topic in Germany. My team and I have approached this larger issue from various perspectives, such as quality and availability of drinkable tap water, sewage and water treatment, hydroelectric power, floods, and droughts. For today, we chose to focus on the droughts and scarcity of water side of things, but before we dive deeper into the topic, it is fair that we give you an overview of Germany regarding water. For starters, here in Germany, tap water is drinkable and widely available, and sewage systems are common, as Germany adheres to the strict European regulations. Water availability in the country is maintained mainly by rivers and rainfall. Rainfall, in particular, is paramount for agriculture, as the groundwater and river water can be contaminated and thus not that beneficial to the overall development of plants and crops. We should also mention that the water sources are not distributed evenly across Germany, but this issue has been mitigated by the construction of water pipelines and artificial flows. While water uses here are mainly related to household tasks, such as hygiene, laundry, and toilet flushing, the vast majority of water resources in Germany are used for industrial and agricultural purposes. To wrap things up, I hope that I managed to point out the basic about water topic in Germany. So let's focus on the today topic, drought. First and foremost, Germany has a temperate climate with oceanic influences. So that should mean, in theory at very least, the droughts are uncommon here. Unfortunately, due to climate change, that is not the case anymore, and this highlights why there is an urgent need to cooperate on a global level to solve the threat of global warming. In this presentation, we'll focus specifically on the droughts that happened in the summer of 2022, which had its peak towards the end of the month of August. The magnitude was vast. As of 24th of August, more than half of Germany was affected by droughts, almost a quarter of Germany by extreme droughts and more than 12% by severe drought. We all can try to imagine how terrible the situation was. Systems were damaged, low crop yields were registered, rivers dried up, and so on. The Rhine River, the second largest in Europe, had suffered greatly, as its depth decreased to barely 1.5 meters in many locations. Considering this, we want to shed light on the economic ramification of this event. Cargo ships had only about 30 centimeters of water beneath them, that's about a foot, and that meant in turn that they had to operate with much less cargo in order not to risk getting the ship stuck. In turn, the shipping industry was heavily impacted, as now ships could only carry around 25 to 35% of their designated maximum capacity, thus increasing the operational costs and reducing margins, while delaying shipment schedules at the same time. To put things into perspective, for the same liquid tanker from the route Amsterdam-Karlsruhe, the price in June was 20 euros per ton, whereas by the end of August, it rose to 94 euros for the exact same load. In case you're wondering, yes, that's an increase of 370%. That's a lot. Another impact that low water level on the Rhine had was that electricity production was reduced. Commonly, you would think that only the hydroelectric sector was affected, but it is far from the truth. As an example, due to insufficient water supply from the Rhine, a nuclear power plant all the way in Switzerland had to cut its electricity output in half, as they were unable to effectively cool the nuclear material. Next slide, please. But economic activities would not happen in the first place without a safe environment. Because of the drought, soil's property to absorb water is heavily damaged, which in turn will make floods more likely and more devastating. Another way droughts create an unsafe environment is by enabling forest fires to happen at a much larger scale. For example, the Brandenburg land where Berlin is located was deeply impacted. While in the whole year of 2021, there were almost 160 forest fires identified. By the 25th of August 2022, the number was 490. Yes, they more than tripled, and it was not even the total year of 2022, but rather only the first 8 months of the year. In order to mitigate some of the issues posed by the droughts, local authorities stepped in and put in place restrictions regarding the use of water in order to save every drop of water that they could have. Part of the ProGlobe project was to perform interviews with students from the partnering universities. This way, we found that Germany was not the only one to implement such measures, but rather the United States, Canada, and Portugal did the same thing. For example, we found out from our United States partners that in the south of the US, from April to November, there would be water restrictions that would not allow, for example, watering the lawn on certain days of the week. So they had restrictions on the usage of water for 8 months of the year. Before we finish the water section and the presentation moves on, I would like to highlight the recent forest fires in Canada. In the past, many often dismissed the global warming phenomenon as they thought they would not be affected as they would live in colder nations, but now we could see that it impacts everyone. I think this is a wake-up call to take immediate and sustained action on a global scale to solve the issue. Thanks for having me, and now I would like to give the floor to Lily, who will present the waste topic.
Hello, a big welcome from me as well. I'm Lily Cons, and I'm going to introduce to you the waste topic. First, I'm going to talk about current restrictions and future perspectives in where the USA, Canada, and the EU, as well as China, have implemented laws or restrictions or regulations to minimize their waste generation. So first, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency of the USA, has implemented that municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, and low-level radioactive waste get segregated and placed into different and their specific landfills, so that mainly non-contaminated waste does not get contaminated. Then in Canada, each house owner receives 52 tags a year, so 1 tag per week, which has to be attached to a garbage bag or container for the municipality to collect these bags or containers, because without them, they wouldn't. And if more of these tags are required, you have to pay for them. Moving on to the EU. The EU objective is for every country to recycle at least 60% of its municipal waste by 2030. Since 2021, the EU established a single-use plastic ban, so there aren't any plastic straws or plastic cutlery available anymore. There is also the extended producer responsibility issued by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which extends the responsibility for a product to the post-consumer stage of a product's life cycle. Lastly, China's PRC, so People's Republic of China, prohibits the import, dumping, and disposal of municipal and hazardous waste into the People's Republic of China. And since the revision of 2020, it also imposes a joint and several liability on both carrier and importer if no proper license has been obtained. On my next slide, I'm going to talk about the awareness and personal countermeasures. So first, I have a graph to show you. This graph depicts the daily municipal solid waste generation per capita worldwide in 2018 in kilograms. As you can see, the top 4 ranking countries are all highly industrial countries, and 3 of these countries are also part of the ProGlobe project. And we're very aware of this fact as well. We found that out in our group's interviews. My group interviewed a total of 7 interviews from the countries Canada, USA, and Portugal. And we also talked about what countermeasures we take in our personal life on a smaller scale. And our interviews mentioned that they try to recycle. They also do trash separation. Sometimes it's not that easy, where they move to maybe for university, but in their family homes they did. They also try to cut on grocery bags or just use reusable bags in general. They also try to not to overbuy, and also to avoid trends because they're very influencing on social media. And also they try to avoid single-use products, such as single-use razors, for example. And they also try to do composting at home. There was 2 interviews that mentioned that they do composting. And as you can see, we can start on a small scale and do something to minimize our own waste generation. But as the Canadian Waste Group has already mentioned, the impact of waste is very serious and drastic. So our industry has to change as well and do something to reduce waste, not just we as persons and people in our personal lives, but the industry has to do something as well. And now Martin Kurochev is going to conclude our presentation with the topic of transportation.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Martin Kurochev, and today I'll be talking about transportation in Germany. On the first slide, we can see a statistic of public transportation gas emissions thrown into the atmosphere. In Germany, the main transportation is by cars and trains. Germany is trying to motivate people to use public transportation more than cars because it has less emissions. Although there are less, it's still not enough. On the statistics, we can see the huge emissions thrown every year into the environment. Starting from 2011 till 2020, we can see an increase till 2017 in emissions. After 2017, there is a slight decrease, and in 2020, we have reached a 147 million tons of emissions in the environment. So what we can do about it is we can bike and walk. Riding or walking can reduce the risk of heart and circulatory disease by as much as 35% and risk of early death by as much as 30%. We can utilize biking and walking. Biking and walking has 0 emissions on the environment, and there are a lot of health benefits to it. It can also greatly reduce the chance of several serious illnesses, also keeps the environment clean. It can reduce the risk of breast, bowel, and womb cancer, and it raises your metabolic rate, which can help keep weight off. I'm not saying that all the time you should be biking and walking. That is impossible. Sometimes you have to cover huge distances to go to other countries, or let's say your work is 3 hours away. But in general, for small distances, I recommend biking or walking because it is good for the environment, and also it has its health benefits. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully, our team led by Professor Regina Brauhat has been able to give you a better perspective over the world and how to be more sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to the students of Von Reinsieg University of Applied Sciences. We would like to open this time up for any questions to the presenters. Okay, if I could ask you to stop sharing your screen, and maybe we'll be able to, there we go. And we've got a nice grid here where everybody can see you. Okay, so the first question, in order to reduce carbon footprint and other greenhouse gases, such as methane, are there any other initiatives besides the use of renewable energies to encourage the use of public transports, car sharing, or electric options?
Well, we can use electric cars, which of course they're not using any gases or so on, fuels. So it will be good for the environment, although recycling will be a factor and waste will be thrown. Although maybe in the future we can focus on cars that are completely recyclable, so they're sustainable and fully electric. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, if there's no other responses to that question, we do have another one. Oops, what are the main causes of food loss and waste in Germany?
So the main causes for waste in Germany are mainly construction, but also a lot of municipal waste production. So for construction, it accounts for about 60%. So constructing roads, for example, that's a very big point in Germany. But also, like I said, municipal waste, there's also hazardous waste. But yeah, those are the main factors.
Thank you. Are there any incentives for buying electric cars in Germany?
I would say people are very motivated in Germany to be sustainable. We have seen big companies translating to electric cars, and people are indeed buying them and trying to be sustainable. Of course, not everybody is using an electric car or is not a big fan of it, but people are, as the years go by, are looking more and more into buying one.
Okay, thank you. Another question. There's a big discussion about whether to continue the 49 euro nationwide rail ticket in Germany. Do you think it is economically feasible?
Oh, sorry.
You go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention that in our university, that's also a very big topic because we also have a semester ticket, which is supposed to be on a lower price for students. And we also had to vote actually today if we want to continue having that ticket or if it would be just better to have the 49 euro ticket nationwide. And I think that it depends. We still have to look into how it's going to change our economy if we keep having the 49 euro ticket or if it's going to be the main ticket that everyone's going to purchase, like us students as well. Yeah, that would be my input. If Martin, you've got anything else to say.
No, I don't have anything to add to it.
So were there any other questions? We'll just give everyone a moment and see if there any more questions come into our Q&A. And also, I wanted to offer this time to the other German students that may want to also respond to some of the questions that have been responded to already, just in case. Well, it looks like no other questions are coming into the chat. Oh, wait, we do have one. We have one from Canada. Martin discussed the impact transportation has on the environment and how we can work towards reducing this carbon footprint in our daily lives. In Canada, there is a carpooling app called Poparide. Does Germany also have something similar?
In Canada, there is a carpooling app called Poparide. I guess maybe that's something like Uber. You call a certain car and they give you a ride, correct?
Well, actually, a Poparide is a little bit different. What it is that you can register as somebody who is going from one city to another. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you live in one city and you go to school 2 hours away here. And so there might be somebody who frequently drives back and forth between those two cities, and they'll put themselves up as an available ride. And then you could, go onto the app if you need a ride and see who is actually traveling from this city to that city or whatever it is. It's not just city to city, but in general, providing that opportunity. So what happens is that somebody who would typically be traveling by themselves maybe could take other people into their car.
And cut emissions on the, I'm not 100% sure. I have not seen such app in Germany, although I'm not 100% sure because I've been in Germany for 2 months and something.
I could provide maybe an answer.
Yeah, that would be great.
Like Martin said, we don't have such an app that's like very popular and very known. But for example, in our IB class, we also have people that came together and take the same car every morning so that they can minimize their carbon emissions as well. And then they just carpool and come together to uni. And we sometimes also have shuttles so that, for example, we also have a different campus in Rheinbach so that the students can go there together, or there are also shuttles in different universities, but it's not so well known as in Canada, I would presume, because we don't have a specific app for that.
Some in the chat are suggesting that maybe something called BlaBlaCar might be a similar app. Is that real, or did I just?
So we can maybe check it out right now.
Okay, so one person from our class has mentioned that as well. So that would probably be then the equivalent for the app in Canada, yeah.
Okay, great. I don't see any more questions. I thank you all for your wonderful presentations and your perspective in sharing these different categories of sustainability. So thank you very much. And now I would like to welcome the Bachelor of Tourism program from the Polytechnic Institute of Viseu in Viseu, Portugal.
Can we begin? Sorry, can we begin?
Please do.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you Team Portugal. My name is Gastrogreen Guardian, but you can call me 3G. Sit back and listen to our team of Portuguese tourism students talk about sustainability and food tourism. We're all about making sure every bite is tasty and helps our planet stay healthy.
Thank you, 3G, for that kind and generous introduction. As Portuguese undergraduate students about to complete our degree in tourism, we are excited to welcome all of you to our representation on the theme of sustainability in the context of food tourism. This year, we will take you on a journey through the world of sustainable tourism, and in particular, how it intertwines with food tourism. Today, we will invite you to join us in witnessing the culmination of our hard work and dedication. We are on the brink of becoming the next generation of tourism leaders, committed to driving positive change in our industry. Together, we will explore how Portugal, a country renowned for its cultural heritage and culinary wonders, serves as a good example for sustainable tourism practices. Before we present our findings, it is first important to know what we mean by food tourism. According to the World Food Travel Association, food tourism is the act of traveling for a taste of place in order to get a sense of place. Food has finally become a main motivation for travelers when choosing a destination. 53% of leisure travelers are food travelers, and these tourists spend their time and money on unique food and beverage experiences. 81% of these travelers want to learn more about the food and drink of the destination they are visiting. Therefore, food tourism offers a unique gateway to explore the diverse culinary traditions of a destination, but it's also an arena where the principles of sustainability can be integrated, fostering responsible consumption and supporting local communities. For all these reasons, we have chosen this topic to present our findings in this year's ProGlobe Conference. So, without further ado, let's embark on this exciting journey through the lens of Portuguese students passionate about making a difference in the world of food tourism. We will begin the journey with the water team that will quench your thirst for knowledge. Next, the transportation team will drive you through interesting facts. The energy team will enlighten you with more information. Next, the food team will give you some food for thought. Then, we won't waste any more of your time because our waste team will shock you with facts. And finally, the inclusivity team will play a vital role ensuring that our discussion on sustainability is accessible and informative. So, let's start the journey with our classmate Tiago from the water team.
Thank you, Beatriz. Our team is the water team. As you may know, water is crucial for our survival, not only for us as a species, but also for Earth's fauna and flora, as they are primarily composed of water. However, humans as a species tend to waste a significant amount of drinkable water, particularly in the context of food. The highest water footprint among all food products is associated with meat, primarily because meats are a part of a secondary diet. For example, chickens, pigs, and cows require food like corn, which requires a large amount of water for cultivation. Given Portugal's extensive coastline, it's not surprising that fish farming is an important industry. Total fish farming production in 2021 was 17,900 tons, which represented an increase of 5.3% compared to 2020. Fish farming sales generated revenue of 162.8 million euros, 62.9% higher than in 2020. With the increase of fish farming sales, it's evident that sustainable practices, championed by initiatives like Friend of the Sea, are becoming increasingly vital for both economic growth and environmental conservation in the industry. Friend of the Sea is a project of the World Sustainability Organization, an international NGO whose mission is to promote environmental conservation. When discussing water consumption in restaurants, it's worth noting that the kitchen accounts for 48% of the total water usage, while sanitary use constitutes the other significant portion at 31%. So, what can restaurants do to use water in a more sustainable way? Here are some examples of good practices. Restaurants offer tap water instead of bottled water, install faucets with sensors, collect rainwater to help with flushing, as well as provide information to raise clients' awareness about sustainable water practices. We also wanted to know how aware our international peers were with this topic. Therefore, we asked the following question. Is it common for restaurants in your region to offer tap water to customers, or is bottled water more common? In case they do offer tap water, is it free of charge? All students from Canada, one from the US and another one from Germany, said yes and that it is for free. A student from the US said yes, but it costs 30 cents, while a German student said they have mostly bottled water that is mainly sparkling. Another question we asked was, is your region close to a river, lake, or sea? If so, how does this proximity influence the local cuisine and food offerings? All the interviewees answered yes to the first question. However, the Canadian and US students said that restaurants offer fish from these water sources. The German student said it does not influence the local cuisine because most fish are imported. Now, Vasco from the transportation team will share his group's results.
Thank you, Tiago, for all the interesting information about water. Now I'll focus on transportation and present my group's results. Transporting food from where it is produced to our dinner plates creates a huge amount of greenhouse emissions, the so-called food miles. These carbon emissions from transporting food are about 6% of the global total, and fruit and vegetables have the highest food miles emissions because they often need to be refrigerated and consumers demanded out-of-season foods. An ingredient that Portuguese people demand all year round is definitely codfish. It is present in all typical restaurants and on the tables of every Portuguese. The truth is that this food, so traditional in our culture, is not a Portuguese product. It is brought from the cold waters of North Atlantic, from countries like Iceland, Norway, as you can see from the map. Codfish is not the best example we can give regarding food transportation. However, we have some good examples, and I'm going to tell you about one of them. The Portuguese restaurant called A Cozinha, located in the north of the country. This restaurant gets 85% of the ingredients in a 50-kilometer radius. In addition to that, the chef is doing a 0-kilometer project where all the ingredients are sourced in the city of Guimarães, where the restaurant is located. This 0-kilometer restaurant is a great sustainable example of transportation. Now, let's turn our attentions to our interview results. The first question we asked was a general one about how students typically go to school or work, and what mode of transportation they find most convenient. All 3 students living in Germany stated that use trains or trams to get to school, while 2 students from Canada go by bus and 2 by car. The 2 US American students we interviewed stated that they go to school by car. We asked other questions, but we wanted to share one that is related to our food tourism topic. We asked the same students, would you rather dine at a restaurant known for its innovative and modern cuisine, even if it means a long drive, or a nearby restaurant with more traditional dishes? The majority said they would prefer to dine at a nearby restaurant with more traditional dishes. It has been a pleasure. Now I'll give the floor to my classmate Clara, who will enlighten you with some energy facts.
Thank you, Vasco, for your energizing thoughts. My group focused on energy, and I will present our findings. Companies in the restaurant industry consume and waste large amounts of energy, typically accounting for 4 to 6% of total operational costs. In some kitchens, only 40% of the energy consumed is used in food preparation and storage. The rest is dispersed as residual heat. Therefore, effective energy management in the restaurant sector can lead to substantial savings. For instance, energy efficiency in lighting involves ensuring the same levels of brightness with equipment that has lower energy consumption. Proper lighting selection can result in 15 to 20% reduction in an energy bill. In Portugal, more precisely in the Azores Islands, we can find a unique example of using volcanic soil to cook. This dish is called cozido das furnas. In the second image, we can see a contemporary gourmet restaurant in Portugal which uses only firewood and coal from the firewood to cook. When talking about more contemporary examples, we have here two great examples of energy consumption management. In the first is the fast food chain, McDonald's, which already has car chargers in its restaurants. The other example is a restaurant in Lisbon called Montemar Lisboa that has installed 135 photovoltaic panels that will help illuminate the restaurant in a more environmentally friendly way. Additionally, to save energy, restaurants should prefer natural light over artificial lights, ensure that the electrical stub or flame is not larger than the base of the container, preventing energy waste, use appropriate sized cooking utensils, for example, pots, pans, and grills, and keep pots covered when cooking to minimize heat loss. Avoid unnecessary opening of equipment doors such as the oven, refrigerator, and freezers. Adjust the air conditioning system to maintain an average room temperature of around 22 degrees. Install motion sensors for space lighting. And select, whenever possible, economic and low temperature programs on dishwashers. We have been presenting energy saving tips in the food tourism area, but we also wanted to know what our peers from other countries are doing to save energy. Therefore, we asked the following question. How do you typically eat your living space during the colder months, and is energy efficiency a consideration? 4 students use air conditioning and 4 use the fireplace to heat their homes. And only 1 student from Germany mentioned solar panels. We also wanted to find out about our topic in relation to our country's food tourism topic. And therefore, we asked the following question. Have you ever been to a restaurant that provides information about their energy saving initiatives or sustainable practices? If so, what are the measures? It is interesting to note that all of our interviewees answered no, which leaves us with some food for thoughts. To the next team will be presenting their findings. Barbara, what does the food team have to say about their research?
Thanks, Clara. We also have interesting findings to present, especially since our topic is food tourism and our team is the food team. Let's start with some curious facts about food. Did you know that 2 dishes can contain exactly the same ingredients, and even when prepared in exactly the same way, one can have a much higher carbon footprint than the other? And did you know that there are 75,000 species of edible plants on the planet, but we only consume 100 of them? Although these facts may surprise you, we have some good examples from Portugal, which have been awarded a Green Michelin star for their sustainable practices. We are going to focus on one from our district of Viseu, Mesa de Lemos. The head chef Diogo Rocha from the region focused on combining the best regional and national products with modern kitchen techniques. This unique project is based on sustainable gastronomy and focused on seasonal flavors, where the main concern is the ingredients, many of which came from Quinta de Lemos itself, keeping them in their purest and most natural state and bringing them to the table with the most genuine flavors. This example should be followed by everyone. However, there is still a long way to go, as can be seen in these figures. According to official data, each Portuguese person throws away an average of 184 kilograms of food a year. US Americans waste about 147 kilograms per person. In Canada, each person wastes 78 kilograms of food, and in Germany, it is 75 kilograms. We also wanted to know what our international peers are doing to minimize food waste at home. Students mentioned strategies like avoiding overbuying food, saving and eating leftovers, storing food appropriately, adopting composting, and using the first-in, first-out method. We also wanted to know their opinion about how food tourists can help reduce waste. We got some interesting suggestions, like supporting local markets, trying to cook with local ingredients, and taking leftovers home. But what about all the waste created by food tourists? My colleague, George, will fill you in about this topic.
Thanks, Barbara. Based on your presentation, a lot has to be done to minimize food waste. My team, the waste team, looked into this and wants to present our findings. First, I'd like to mention an important statistic. Around a third of all global meals produced is thrown away. That is enough to feed nearly 3 billion people, which is around 40% of the human population. To try to solve this problem, several interesting solutions have been created, such as the Waste app. This app allows you to identify not only the nearest recycling container, but also locate collecting points around the country on the interactive map. Another initiative is the Flow for Life project. This project aims to save tons of ugly shaped but good quality food that farmers throw away every year. On a weekly basis, ugly shaped food is purchased from local growers and then packed into boxes to sell to affiliated consumers. In Portugal, there are also some good examples in terms of reducing food waste. Sem Maneiras is a restaurant that tries to reduce food waste to the minimum. The meat bones are used to make stock, and all the food peelings are placed in a composting bin to be later used as fertilizer. A Cozinha is the first restaurant in Europe to be awarded with the Zero Waste certificate. To get this certification, the restaurant implemented several policies, like buying their products from local producers, which is the Zero Mile principle. They also replaced paper napkins and towels like cloth ones, and they give reusable bags to their suppliers in order to avoid single-use packages. We also wanted to know if our international peers know if these measures are also in place in their countries. In terms of knowing food markets and vendors that promote packaging-free options or encourage consumers to bring their own containers, we gave some positive responses overall, especially from our German interviewees. Food banks are a great way of redirecting surplus food to the ones in need, and all of our interviewees knew organizations that help the local communities by giving them excess food from restaurants, supermarkets, etc. Regarding apps that help with the reduction of food waste, we realized that only a few of our German interviewees were using them. Now my classmate Rodrigo will present the inclusivity team's research and findings.
What interesting information you presented, George, about waste. Now we need to look at a topic that is equally important, inclusivity. Inclusivity in food tourism involves ensuring that all individuals, regardless of their cultural background, dietary restrictions, or physical abilities, can fully participate and enjoy the culinary experience a destination has to offer. This can be achieved in several ways. Through menu diversity, restaurants and eateries can introduce diverse menus that cater to various dietary needs, clearly indicating which options are suitable for vegetarians, vegans, or those with allergies. Accessible infrastructure, ensuring that dining establishments are wheelchair accessible and provide appropriate facilities for people with disabilities. For example, having restaurants the Braille menu for blind people. Cultural exchange, encourage cultural exchange through food, because it's a simple and fun way to get to know and understand different cultures and their cuisines, while local communities can share their culinary traditions with tourists. We have brought two examples of inclusivity in Portugal, particularly in two restaurants. The first one is called É uma Mesa. These restaurants hires homeless people to work in the establishment, giving them training. The picture on the right, we can see a woman called Luisa, was one of the first to participate in this project. The second example is about another restaurant called O Único, which, in addition to being a restaurant that focuses a lot on sustainability, it also employs people who have intellectual difficulties and developmental difficulties. But what about this topic in our international peers' lives? We are pleasantly surprised that all of them have seen some efforts to include everyone in their school or community, that they are clubs or groups at school that focus on including everyone, and they think learning about different cultures and perspectives creates a more inclusive environment. When asked, would you choose a restaurant that offers a diverse menu with options from various dietary needs and preferences, even if it means slightly higher prices, or a restaurant with lower prices but a more limited menu? The answers differ, as can be seen from these graphs. Katia will now conclude Portugal team presentation.
Thank you, Rodrigo, and fellow classmates. In conclusion, our exploration of food, tourism, and sustainability has unveiled the potential for responsible and delightful journeys that enrich both travelers and the environment. We leave you with some tips on how restaurants can be more sustainable and contribute to this responsible food tourism experience. For example, plan menus before going shopping. Use a wide variety of plant-based ingredients. Reduce dependence on meat and dairy. Create seasonal menus tailored to the different seasons and available harvests. Offer vegetarian options. Promote individual meals portions over buffets. Create dishes that use leftovers. And buy local products. Any final words from you, Trigi?
Thank you, Katia. With your tips, we have reached the end of Team Portugal presentation. We hope you liked it. As we wrap up, remember that sustainable food tourism isn't just a trend, it's a delicious way forward for both our taste buds and the planet. Let's all take a slice of this mission home with us, and together, we can make a positive impact, one meal at a time. Obrigada. Thank you, Katia.
Wonderful job presenting. Really, really neat introduction and conclusion as well. I would love to open this up now for any questions for our Portuguese students. We'll just wait as some questions come into the chat. Feel free to go to the Q&A section at the bottom of your Zoom screen and type in your questions. There's no questions. I think people are like, I don't know, I feel very informed by this presentation. So I will appeal to the Canadian students who presented today, the American students, and the German students to ask a question of our Portuguese partners. So from the US, they're wondering if you can mention the food app again.
I can answer that question if you want. The app Too Good To Go is very popular here in Portugal. It's something that you can download for free on your iPhone or Android device. And basically it shows you there are some establishments like supermarkets or bakeries that make partnerships with it. And then all of the food that they don't sell during the day, they sell it afterwards in that app, and you can buy those products for less money, and that avoids that food being thrown away. And you get some good quality food for a much lower price, and it avoids it being thrown away.
So another question, and this I guess could be posed to both your cultural questions and your sustainable inclusive questions as well. But what was the most surprising information that you found out from your interviews in contrast to what you're used to in Portugal? You were not surprised.
I mean, we were all positively surprised that most of the people that we interviewed use mainly public transport to get to school, especially the students in Germany, I think, and also Canada. They say that they have a very good public transport network, and also in the US as well. So yeah, it's something that some of us use in Portugal, but I don't think it is as common there.
We have another question. Does your research for this project make you want to continue this type of collaboration across countries?
I think I can talk in behalf of my colleagues. I think this type of collaboration is a great way to learn more about the other countries, as well they learn a lot from us. I loved, for example, my German interviewee. She was a lot of fun and very friendly. So I think it's a good way to get to know the people, the food, the way that they do their life. It's a lot of fun, I think.
Any other responses to that?
I think that my co-mate said everything, but I think that it's very important to us to know each other and what is around us. And yeah, it's great.
Wonderful. The US students are asking how the leftover food is transported or where it is taken, like, for example, food banks.
Yes, mostly food banks and organizations that are similar to that one, that give excess food to people in need.
I think they were talking about Too Good To Go, I think.
Perhaps they may
Yeah.
be.
So basically the restaurants or the grocery stores, they make like, on the grocery stores they make like a surprise bag, and they prepare it throughout the day, and the almost expired products are thrown into the bag, but you just have to go to the business, and with the app it gives you a code, and with that code you can pick up your the leftover food, so it can't be wasted.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to the Polytechnic Institute of Viseu students for a wonderful job presenting and a really interesting, it's hard to go last because so many people have covered all these categories and you managed to do it in a way that kept us completely focused the entire time. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences and perspectives. And at this time, in addition to the student presentations, we would like to welcome the ProGlobe coordinators to say a few words. So as we're moving panelists in and out and attendees, I'll just take this opportunity to introduce Professor Dr. Christy Julian from Middle Tennessee State University, Professor Dr. Lourdes Martins from Polytechnic Institute of Viseu in Portugal. Also from Polytechnic Institute of Viseu is Professor Dr. Paula Fonseca. From Bonn Rhein-Sieg University of Applied Sciences is Regina Brautlacht and also Anne Fries. And then, of course, I forgot to introduce myself at the very beginning, but we've come to know each other this 3 hours. I'm Wendy Hume from Canada, from Fanshawe College. So I'd like to open this up for any of the coordinators to be able to say a few words for closing.
You want me to start, Wendy? I could start.
Wonderful.
Okay. First of all, I want to congratulate all the dedicated students from Germany, Canada, US, and Portugal who actively took part in this ProGlobe 2023 conference. It was obvious your passion, innovation, teamwork made this initiative a success. It's the 9th year, and I think we are just as successful as we were, or even more so than the first year. I think your passion, innovation, teamwork are commendable. I think you are a great example of how we can work in this global community. I also want to say, on a much sadder note, in the midst of this celebration, we do have, our joy is a little tinged with somber reality of the passing of our dear colleague, Joseph, this week. So let us all take a moment to reflect on how fragile life is and the profound impact we can have on one another. Here's to a brighter, greener future, built on foundation of hard work, commitment, and the enduring spirit of colleagues like Joseph, who were very hardworking, intelligent, and gave a lot to the virtual exchange projects and to his students, his colleagues, his family. May he rest in peace.
Regina, did you want to say a few words?
I think that after Paula said so beautifully, I don't really want to add something because it's just a very good ending for what was just said. So thank you very much.
Yes, perfectly said, Paula. So I would just like to thank this team of coordinators who are always so hardworking and amazing to work with, but most of all of the students who presented today, and all the extra work that it takes to try to organize an international interview, organizing different time zones, and all of the hard work that you put together to be a participant in this. We really hope that what you see is your ability now to think globally, to reach across the world, to make change in this world, and recognize how easy it is to access anything through here. So congratulations. And with that, I'll close our ProGlobe conference this year. Thank you.